I'm not going to be an advocate. I know I posted that micromanaging thing, but man, it's not about like Trump or anything like that. That would just,
nobody likes Republicans and Democrats equally hate micromanagers. So
right. So like something like that would get people's guts going crazy. But I mean, my policy is, I think edgy is actually good.
Back to your definition of relevance, since it's micromanaging a business topic, a controversial business topic. Hey, okay, great, but don't stray off into non-business affairs like politics or other things.
Good point. Go ahead.
With my previous job, we worked quite closely with our social team about how we tailored our content and posts for LinkedIn versus how we tailor it for Facebook or other platforms. And through the research we did, the LinkedIn audience is much more discerning, much more professional, and also they have a great BS detector. So if you're posting clickbait, people see through that right away and actually do more harm than good. Whereas actually having great content and then posting not a provocative title, but is such and such the solution question mark, almost engaging with the audience that way, we had more of a response than doing straight up clickbait, because that didn't work.
So and like going back to it, and like I actually stole that same idea from an influencer who I look up to, but I concluded this with thoughts, and I noticed that at the end, that's a really good way to invite people to comment. So that's one thing I love. All right, moving to number 2, comments on other people's, can be one of the best ways to engage with people. Comments. It's not going to be enough to post on your own feed, especially if you're just starting out and you don't have a lot of connections. I don't have, I know that there are people beyond my connections that I want to reach, and I think one of the best ways to do that is by commenting on other people's stuff. So I said, go outside your bubble and offer value however you can. All right, this is one of my favorite people who I follow. Her name is Bridget Hassian. She's from Trinidad and Tobago. She is in the job seeker market, and this is a recent comment. See, look, like 85 likes. That's way more than anything I could ever put out there. And it's a comment. This lady is fantastic. She has 1.5 million followers. Not like I really care about the count. It's about the quality of the people that follow her more than anything. But she has my audience. She's exactly who I'm trying to reach out to, and something I want to connect with. So her post actually called for more connections. So I did solicit more connections in her post. So I said, this is why I love Bridget. LinkedIn is for networking first and foremost. So here's my value exchange proposition, which she asked for. If you're looking for resume advice, I do all caps, like that's a recent thing for me. Job seeker motivation or need to help write a LinkedIn profile, please follow me. As a post-related podcast, blah, blah, blah. And I also said, hey, if you're in sales or marketing, please connect with me because there's so much sales and marketing stuff that I want to know because like it's in my space. So I got 20 to 25 LinkedIn requests like within 24 hours, and they're all people who are relevant in my space. This is just one example. I comment on Bridget's stuff. I've done this more than once, and it's worked almost every single time. So there was one time she liked one of my comments, and I tagged her in a post, and I got, this is a record for me, I got 2,100 likes on this pretty one post. Yeah. Look at my history, guys. But like the point is like you're adding value, like you're trying to show how you're relevant for the people that you're posting for. You're not just saying, hey, follow me. Try to draw a little bit more meaning behind it. Any questions on this whole commenting principle? It's something I love doing. Cool. Matt?
I'm sure you're going to mention it. But tagging people is always a great way to get engagement as well.
Yeah.
So, I just want to offer that. That was not a question.
Tagging helps.
Yeah.
You don't want to go overboard.
Yeah.
With tagging people. Matt, tell the tagging horror story that you did once. Don't say names, don't name names. But
oh, shoot, I actually don't remember what you're talking about. What happened?
When you got tagged like 25 gazillion times.
Oh, yeah. Someone was consistently, it was a kind of a potential partner. I don't know, and in that process, like we hadn't become full partners, but was looking into that tech recruiting space, and this person would just constantly tag me in every single post he ever made, twice a day for weeks on end. And I was just like, it wasn't really relevant to me, and it really wasn't engaging me in any way. It was just adding my name to a list of 10 or 15 other tags.
Just blew up his feed.
Yeah, I just blew up my feed.
Let me ask you this: would you have minded if it was relevant for you?
No, I would not have minded at all. Yeah, probably would have written some things about it too, like, oh, great question.
Commented.
Yeah, commented. But they were kind of pluggy. I think someone mentioned up there is just like more of a clickbait kind of like, look at this post, rather than thoughtful and engaging. So,
Cool.
yeah, that's funny.
Okay. Okay, cool. So this is another influencer who I keep saying influencer, but people with a lot of followers in my relevant space that I follow. His name is Oleg Vishnepolsky. Do you follow him?
I do.
He's a great guy. So he talks about, he just put this quote up, like, when you know your value, it's hard to stay with people who don't. And then I just gave my 2 cents. So didn't even plug, didn't even say, hey, follow me back, or hey, I'm a job seeker guy. I just gave my 2 cents, and I put a lot of thought into it. I spent maybe 5 minutes on this comment, as opposed to 2 seconds on it. And look, 9 likes and people who wanted to connect with me who are relevant in my space. Gary Vee, who is my favorite person in the world, talks about this. He says it's the 2 cents principle, or the $1.80 strategy. So to give your 2 cents enough times where it adds up to $1.80, and that's all you're doing is just offering value to people's feeds. One of my favorite concepts that's been able to, it's like my favorite thing. Okay. Also, be a human. Don't just follow, don't just comment on influencer stuff. Comment on the people who you're trying to build connections with. So this was a past podcast guest, Dave Watts. He was looking for a job, I think at the age of his late 60s. And he finally got a job working for the Warwickshire Police. And this is somebody who I connected with. This guy gave me a LinkedIn recommendation. So it's also about being human. So I just commented, congratulations on getting a new position. Sorry, it's right here. A great example of a career warrior, which he was a podcast guest on the Career Warrior podcast. I wish you the best of luck in the new role. So don't forget to really water relationships. I think LinkedIn is one of the best ways to do that. Somebody talked about nurturing relationships here, so I think don't forget that. Okay. Third part of this presentation is actually building connections the right way. So I'll talk about how I've been able to do it successfully in the last few months. Who knows the answer to this question? How many connections should I have? Shout it out to somebody.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Why does it not matter?
Because it's quality over quantity.
Exactly, yeah. Somebody said it best. I actually interviewed somebody and asked the same question. He's somebody who had a lot of followers, but he spent a lot of time on his LinkedIn profile. He says that it's better to have 50 connections that are relevant rather than 5,000 that are completely irrelevant. It's 100% true. Yes, there is something about that magic 500 number. Who's reached 500? Who's not reached 500 yet? Cool. It doesn't really matter that much. It does kind of matter. I mean, it's more of like a pat on the back thing. What I recommend more than anything is making sure your profile is elevated to all-star status, because it will get shown to more people, more recruiters, if you have it at all-star status. Thank you. Okay, getting good connections. There are multiple ways to do this. There really are 2 routes to go, and it's pretty obvious. It's in-person connections, such as what we're doing right here in this room, or LinkedIn-based, so that would be more like a cold or warm type situation. I'm not advocating for one or the other. Actually, no, I am. I'm advocating for in-person more than warm cold, especially if you don't mind people. I think it's a good way to go. But there are benefits and drawbacks really to both. In-person networking. One thing to ask yourself is, what events can you attend this week that are relevant in your space? Matt, you had some really good examples of events to attend relevant for job seekers during the last webinar. Do you remember what those were?
Definitely any events linked to, for those of us who attended college or whatever it was, or even like trade schools or coding boot camps, any sort of thing related to your alma mater. Events like that are pretty good. Good place to start.
Yeah. Alumni events are great.
Alumni events.
Like, see if you're, Meetup, first of all, you guys are doing the right thing by being on Meetup. But check your Facebook, LinkedIn groups for your alumni organization. They usually have events, local chapters, things like that. Always helpful. Conference events. So for us, we're part of the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches. This is something that we're considering attending, is a conference relevant to our industry, because we know that we can meet a lot of career coaches who can partner up with us to give us more business in the future. So that would be an example of an event. Does anyone have any idea? I would like to ask the audience here actually if anyone's attended an event that has proved fruitful, like you met a really cool person during that event that's given you an opportunity. Go ahead.
Well, I joined Women in Communications, Women Communicators of Austin group. It has about 250 women around Austin who specialize in marketing and public relations. And I actually developed a relationship with a woman we're meeting tomorrow for coffee. She coaches people, she coaches TED Talk speakers.
Nice.
And again, with a career move, obviously not always sure about what direction I want to go in, but just meeting people who have interesting careers and learning about how they got there is really cool. So.
Nice. That's awesome. It's a great example. Go ahead.
So all the meetups that I go to, I always walk away with something, and I've curated the meetups that I go to, to do just that. And being a developer, I can go to one that's, about a specific language, it's a React.js meetup or something. And I may not network a whole bunch, but I'll still walk away with something that is relevant to what I'm doing.
Yes.
And being a musician and a professional musician that plays around, when I talk to other people and they ask me, hey, how do I get involved in the music scene, and how do I, maybe get gigs or meet other musicians? And I always tell them the same thing, which I found is also transferred over into tech, is that support the scene that you want to be a part of. You don't have to be playing every night, but you can go to a show, once a week and meet people and make sure that you are just supporting the scene that you want to be a part of. And by going to these meetups that are, not always about music, mostly about tech, I'm doing the same thing. I'm just being involved in my own community that I want to excel in.
Love it, love it. Reminds me, I used to DJ for 5 years, and every single gig I've ever gotten has been through doing exactly what you're talking about. So just being present, going to shows, DJing once, and then that just kind of creates a thing of people asking you to DJ at their party. Thank you.
Yeah.
Matt.
Sorry to jump in again. For job seekers, I cannot emphasize enough, career fairs are a great resource. There's actually one coming out. I had to look at on the date on my phone. But Austin Startup Week, Startup Crawl, specifically for, how many companies, Chris?
There's a lot.
Just dozens and dozens of companies who are going to be literally right here in this building, and you have the opportunity to shake so many hands.
Yeah.
Connect with all of them on LinkedIn, talk to them, actually have some, real human conversations while you're at it. And hopefully get some business cards, because it's going to be a really, really awesome opportunity.
Yeah.
But stuff like that.
What'd you say the date?
It is next Thursday, the 26th.
What calls on the 26th?
The
There's
26th.
events all startup week.
It's all startup week. Yeah. Next week is the whole startup week, but specifically the one I'm speaking about here in Capital Factory is Thursday, 26th.
And there are multiple startup crawls throughout the year. I mean, there was a really big one during South by.
Yes.
And that one was awesome.
Yeah. Good luck.
How many, this is a vulnerable question to answer, so don't feel like you have to. How many of you identify as introverts? Little hand. Okay, you. See, it's a lot of the room. First of all, what I'll tell people is some of the most social people I've met in my entire life, I'm always surprised when they're yeah, I'm actually an introvert. It has to do with how you derive your energy as opposed to how you are as a person. So I would encourage you not to think just because you're an introvert that doesn't lock you into a specific mindset, or just that doesn't limit you in any way. It just talks about how you derive energy. So what I tell all my introverts is definitely use your combination of online networking in combination with events. Do not neglect events. I think you're doing the right thing. But reward yourself. Say, okay, as soon as I'm done with this event where it's going to give me, I'm going to be tired or exhausted from it, I'm going to make my favorite cup of tea, drink my favorite beer. Just do something to reward yourself. And I'm not even an introvert, but I still reward myself that way. So that's a lot. Okay. My go-to line, my favorite thing, I ran out of business cards maybe about 6 months ago. I used to always carry around business cards. My go-to line, this doesn't work for you, don't feel like you have to take it, but feel free to steal this, is I actually ran out of my last business card, but are you on LinkedIn? Really simple, and then I'll whip out my phone and I'll connect with most of these people right then and there on the spot. And it's been probably one of my best ways to connect with people on LinkedIn when I attend events. Don't write their name down. Well, you can't write your name down and connect with them the day after, but you might forget. So I recommend having the app open. And say if you left your business cards at home, no one's giving me pushback on that. You don't have business cards? What is wrong with you? Maybe one person told me that out of the 200 people. I don't know. Go ahead.
Those are like little mini billboards you carry in your pocket.
Yeah, I throw so many business cards out. Like I have to be real. I do add them on LinkedIn, but I throw them away after I open them. So yeah.
You use that little function on the LinkedIn app where it gives you a QR code and you can like immediately interface with the person.
Yes, that's a good one if both people in the party have the app. But if not, you can just find them usually. A good way to find people on LinkedIn is either by typing the city after their name, because there's probably multiple John Smiths. So yeah, cool. Moving on, for the sake of time, now we talked about that. Okay, LinkedIn-based networking. You don't have to find people by going to events. You can actually find people on LinkedIn and have a targeted strategy. I recommend this if you want to diversify. Look how easy this is. It's just like Google. So this morning I typed in sales managers in Austin, and look who comes up. 74,000 results. And LinkedIn is great because it actually gave Matt, like Matt was the first person to show up. Because Matt does sales for Let's Eat Grandma. So LinkedIn is very smart. But they also prioritize people who you have connections with. So that's the other beauty. You can say, hey, you know such and such, let's connect. So I've used this approach to connect with people. I haven't used it as much just for the sake of time. I'm not trying to build my connections necessarily. I'm trying to find out how I can post more relevant content. But this is beautiful because it will give you unlimited people within that space. And these are all opportunities for every single one of you to make these connections. Just a ballpark estimate of how many people who I've reached out to try to connect with, I'll get probably like 70% yeses if the message is good. Probably 70%. I had one person be like, sorry, not connecting. I was like, cool, totally fine. Have a good day. And she was like, have a good day. So don't be afraid to really go out and use LinkedIn for what it was meant to use for. Any questions on this one? I know people might be a little mystified.
Do you always customize your invite, or do you ever just let loose with the auto one?
That's a great question. So we had someone ask, do you always customize your invites? And I say yes. And that's just because I'm a lot more likely to accept invites if I see it's like, I get a lot of requests from like random people. And if I see it's like there's a reason that you want to connect with me and not that you want to sell me your software that I don't care about within 10 seconds, then I'm much more likely to accept it. So good things to bring up are you're in the same industry, you're in the same city, anything that shows that you have value, yeah, mutual value, exactly. Comments on that? Yeah, any other questions? Okay. This is always a topic, who should I accept or reject a question request from? It depends on what you're trying to achieve. I actually don't practice what I preach what I'm about to say here, I'm sorry for it. But try to look at their profile before you accept it and see if there is a connection. Say they don't leave a note and then somebody who just sent you a request, look at their profile and see what they can do. Sometimes I get so overwhelmed, I'm just like accept, because they're probably relevant. But it's not really, and this is where I need to be careful, to be honest, but it's not really going to serve you if you have a bunch of connections and it's not relevant. And the reason is because your feed is going to get blown up with so much irrelevant content for you that you're not going to know where to start. So do be discerning. Oh, and LinkedIn will push job recommendations to you that aren't relevant to you. That's the annoying thing. So do try to be discerning, and it will save you some headache in the future. Here's a podcast to listen to. Who should I connect with on LinkedIn? Getting those numbers up with Tom Pounder of Career Thinker. So he was the person who first told me the concept of 50 connections is so much better than 5,000 connections. And this is a really good short and sweet episode on how to get your numbers up. Genius. I met him on LinkedIn. Okay, the last concept, you didn't think there was going to be a fourth one, did you? The last concept we're going to talk about is how to leverage your connections when appropriate. So the most important thing I can tell every single person in this room, the thing that I need to remind myself every single day, is do not use your connections. Try to make sure that there is a win-win connection as much as possible before asking for something. So, how to use your Shiny New Network. You could ask for endorsements or recommendations. I think recommendations look great for the job search, and somebody with 3 solid recommendations might sway somebody, in that case, to get attention from a hiring manager. In the case of the gentleman who I gave a recommendation to, that was his only recommendation, but it was a glowing recommendation from me, and that was able to get him a new job. So it is okay to ask for recommendations, and this is something I recommend doing if you're in the job search. Get some recommendations on LinkedIn. Endorsements, they're kind of important, but whatever. So as I said, be authentic and search for win-win situations and scenarios. One of the best things you can do to use LinkedIn is for informational interviews. Who has heard of an informational interview as a concept? Cool. Does anyone want to elaborate on what an informational interview is? Call someone. Matt, what's an informational interview?
It's reaching out to someone in an attempt to gain insight from them on either their industry, their job, not necessarily the pursuit of a job or getting a job for yourself. However, I'll say that oftentimes it does actually lead to either that or a recommendation for a job elsewhere. But that's not the exact intent. It's more just to ask them questions.
Yeah. I think informational interviews are one of the best ways, especially if you're new to a city, to go out, learn about your industry, learn what's relevant, and meet the right people that can get you a job. And that's not coming from me, that comes from my 30th podcast guest, Matt Pritchard, who landed all his jobs he's ever gotten through informational interviews. He said he had no experience within the place he was applying for. However, he desperately wanted to break into that industry. He had the skill set, he had the education, he just didn't have the job. But he was able to actually get his first job when he moved to a new city through the informational interviews concept. He spent a lot of time, as much time as some people spend on job posting boards like Indeed.com. He spent as much time setting up meetings with people in his space, and he got jobs that way. Cool. Who can answer this question? How do you not use your Shiny New Network? What is the wrong thing to do?
Not use it.
That's one way, yeah. Don't let it get out of dust. I always like those last line. Love it. What else? There's beer writing on this, guys.
Try to sell things? Or?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I to be honest, like okay. He said don't sell things. I've considered buying things or partnering with people. I rejected everyone that outright was trying to sell a product, as opposed to people who wanted to see if I was the right fit and then vice versa, and then it spun into a conversation. So I think it's okay to sell things, but I'm more of the long-term strategy approach. And I would say the same exact thing for job seekers. Don't ask for interviews or ask for recommendations right off the bat. I would play more like a long-term game as well. So the idea is to see if there's a win-win situation as much as possible before asking for things. A really good podcast episode to listen to on this exact concept on building win-win relationships. Sorry, it's corporate jargon there, but it's true. How to build a winning network strategy This is with Al Robinette. This is someone who I look up to in the space. He uses LinkedIn. He had a lot of really good insights on how to use LinkedIn for a job search. Okay, my favorite part. Y'all ready? This is coming up with your action plan. So none of what I will tell you is going to matter at all. Like every single word is just going to go out this window if there's no action plan. And I know that because I know exactly how social media can be. The problem with social media is it's very addicting and there can be a lot of wasted time. I'm speaking from experience. It is very easy to waste time on social media. So if I have you guys correct, you all have a specific purpose for how you want to use your LinkedIn profile. So you're not just using it to kind of browse mindlessly. And I recommend coming up with an action plan to do so. So this is just like a really quick example of what I do every single day of my work. You don't need to spend hours and hours on LinkedIn every day. In fact, for me, I literally spend 30 minutes a day at 12:30 on weekdays. Sometimes on weekends if I'm bored or whatever. But this has given me a lot of value just by spending 30 minutes a day. Have I wasted time on LinkedIn? You betcha. I've scrolled and scrolled, but that's because I didn't have an action plan and just kind of did it to shoot dopamine in my brain. That's what social media does. But what I've done instead is I created a calendar event that was recurring. And within that calendar event, this I stole from one of my Genius podcast guests, Jordan Gross, who's a career coach. This is how he built up 9,000 relevant connections. But this is a list of every single thing that I do on LinkedIn that I try to accomplish every single day. It's, did I make 3 new meaningful connections today? So someone with like-minded interests, good description, simple connections. Did I make 1 meaningful comment today that I spent a little bit of time on? Did I have 1 meaningful message today? Did I tag someone in a post that would be of value to them? Actually, I don't tag people every day. I tag people when I can, because sometimes it just doesn't make sense to tag people. Last thing was, did you respond to all of your notifications and messages today? One mistake that I made when I was posting content regularly is I would post stuff and then people would comment on my posts and then I wouldn't comment back. Don't do that. Like, it's awesome when people comment on your stuff. Like, don't take it for granted. Like, start a conversation. So, those are my tips. Any questions on the actionable stuff? Because it really, really counts.
No, this is awesome. I'm already thinking of ways I can still this right on components of my life. I love how focused it is, it's repeatable, and also you've got a list of steps. But it kind of prevents you from moving off the hook if you are easily distracted, like I am.
Yeah, I'm so distracted, yeah. This has helped me, and you can even print it out if you want. But, yeah. Cool. Any other questions? Matt?
Yeah, I'm just gonna provide some more stories because I love stories. A lot of my job seekers that I talk to, I also advocate just if you're gonna spend any time, just 30 minutes a day. And if not, and if you really can't get on the site, at least go on and manicure your network at least once a week. Spend an hour if you can on a Sunday, whatever it is. A lot of people that I do talk to, once we do kind of get that engagement going and a lot more people looking at their profiles, they kind of just let their messages sit. They'll get 3, 4, 5 messages, they won't respond to them, and you've let many opportunities go by the wayside in the meantime. So keep a careful eye for that. Stay regimented like Chris. I love this tip here, and yeah, I think that's it.
Maybe it's my personality, but it's so addicting. It's so exciting, I guess, just to see everyone's updates, and sometimes it's just not even, it's a waste of time. So don't let it be a waste of time. Cool. Final words of advice. This concludes the presentation. Networking is, and you apply the same thing to any kind of networking you do online. It's a lifetime game, not just in times of need. So don't just, so you all are like fired up right now. A lot of you are in the middle of your job search. Don't just use it now, like continue to use it as part of your strategy to connect with people. I heard someone talk about nurturing relationships and building up your brand. I think that's a fantastic long-term strategy. So definitely do it. And when you are in times of need, when you're, God forbid, laid off, or God forbid, you need another job because your job sucks, you have an awesome network of people who you're staying active with. So, thank you so much. This concludes the presentation. Thank you. Riley is our favorite place. If I can make a quick plug real quick though, I'm trying to hit 30 ratings by the end of the week, and that would be killer. And we're gonna give the person with the best rating, if you do it, or the most interesting one, a free beer. And also, what was the other competition?
The question game.
The question game. Okay, Matt, who asked the best question?
This is really difficult. This is, wow. We had some thoughtful and engaging questions here. Am I given just one vote? Or how many?
Oh, that's tough. Okay, give two.
Okay, cool.
2 free beers.
Shoot.
That makes it even harder because more people feel left out.
I know. Don't be offended if I don't pick you. I'm gonna say I heard. Okay, I'll give May and Paul a shout out here for a couple of good questions. So.
Guys. Yeah, like hundreds of people are listening to this too, so like you're helping them too. So that's why it's really weird to appreciate it. Okay, cool. Well, that concludes it. Let's go grab a drink. Matt's gonna lead the troop over there, and I'm gonna put away my equipment. But I appreciate all of you coming, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody here needs to get registered to vote for either Fort Travis or Livingston County? I'm a BDR for both of those.
Oh, I got another plug. Would everyone like to do a LinkedIn party?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
So, if you have the LinkedIn app, you can pull it open on your phone. Go ahead, I think make sure you have Bluetooth turned off.
I'm gonna do that right now.
And once you pull it up, go ahead and find the Friends tab, which is those, those silhouetted figures at the bottom. And there we go. Yeah, thanks. So there should be a little pop-up on the bottom right. If you hit that, the plus button, add friends nearby, turn on, and then find nearby. Does anyone need help finding it? Got it.
Yeah, all my LinkedIn's right here. I deleted my app temporarily because I'm trying to, cleanse out social media a little bit. But this is me. Go ahead and find me. Chris.
I said there's 2 I found, neither over you.
Oh, really?
One in Apple and one somewhere else.
Up
The
there,
CPR
where
video helps.
Laura.
They're out of the field.
Very cool, so you can have. Please forgive me if I'm not doing a compelling message as I.
It's okay.
There's not even an option, is there?
No, there isn't. No, you just.
When you're done, it's gonna be working, so be
Friends.
I always have to get like walk through it.
You got it. Yes.
Doesn't work on you.
That's so weird. I feel what this smells like. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah, I'm going back to
Julia.
Hi.
Hey.
Can I put you right now?
Perfect.
See Brandon over there? Is it the sound? Lisa?
Oh, right here. Yeah.
Amy,
Oh, Lisa.
fine.
There we go.
Jamie. Nice to meet you, Jamie.
I don't know. Amy.
Yeah.
And then
Did you
I
find out, yeah?
fresh diets to that.
Your Mark Nelson.
Yes.
Yellow.
Yellow, yes.
You're with
I found
us,
it.
Carol?
Yes, I am. And who are you?
I'm Rochelle I've been doing project management for marketing project management and events.
You like it?
I know, right?
Or should I just show up as a word that maybe someone or just doesn't show up, and then it's fine?
The risk with that would be you may not, you just might be doing something else. Why don't you send it, like I know how interested you are, why don't you just send me an email or send me like a message?
Okay, that'd be perfect.
Here.
What's your email
Yeah.
address?
Here, she's the EF menu manager.
Oh, yeah.
On LinkedIn.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. So,
Um,
nice meeting you, Mark.
Chris?
Middle name's Eric, actually, so.
Oh, okay, it's an easy
Let's
one.
look around.
Nice.
Bless you.
Where do I find the search, whatever? I mean, I'm just downloading the app, so.
Nice. You're welcome.
But anyway, I started trying to get through the board, so here.
So actually, I think you have to do it. You have this. There we go. And then go ahead and log in.
Thanks for coming. Good crowd, y'all were all very like engaging.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. Great day.
Well, it's a good podcast, so it turns out well for you.
I think
You
it
edit
will.
those down and you run that.
I'll edit it, I'll record an intro now, outro, and just be self-tailored.
And you are
So,
Post on LinkedIn.
Mary?
I'll post it on LinkedIn, yeah. But it also is like Apple Music's like where it lives primarily.
Okay.
So,
This is Mark.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
So
Yeah.
pushing through your website is on the log.
I'm
it's on every single platform out there.
Here's your number 7.
Go ahead, thank you.
Yeah. We've had a lot of guests.
Sometimes it is, sometimes
Oh, yeah. I know, it's great. We're like, 10 years, 10 year anniversary.
We gotta celebrate that, but that's
I'm blown away that that might be able to take the least operations of her.
Already said that, I first heard about it, contacted did
Help me out.
like once I got the
Thanks for coming. I started seeing a lot more.
I had lost interest in that.
Yeah, and so, like I do, it's made a little difference. After some days, you need some more time.
That's all I do is contact Mark.
I'll just jump off work.
Yeah, there we go.
Paris.
Yeah, oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You guys have that, you're out here.
Let's do it. That'd be one of those things. That's what we gotta say. Let's go. Cool.
You like to stop by for a little bit over at
It's hard to find a taxi. Say.
It's like it's been a while. It's right there. Yeah, if you want. No problem.
And so just having those different.
And they're in.
Person who's like, I'm available.